Welcome back to Fox Explainer. Today I am going to show you a psychological thriller war movie from 2016 called Mine. Spoilers ahead. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Watch out and take care. At the beginning of the movie, a tough-ass Marine named Mike says goodbye to a young woman at the airport and hops on a helicopter to go to his next mission. In the next scene, Mike and his spotter Tommy are waiting for their target on a cliff overlooking a desert. Tommy is always talking, while Mike is quieter and more serious. They see a lot of people on foot coming from one side and a lot of armed cars coming from the other. Sadasif, a 65-year-old terrorist, is the person Mike wants to kill. As Tommy and the voice on the radio try to get Mike to do the hit, he realizes that everyone is at a wedding and that the target might be the groom's father. When the groom and bride block the target, the situation gets even more complicated. Mike is told to kill the groom so he can get to the target, but he can't bring himself to kill a person. Mike tells his command center that he lost his target, which is not true. The two are then seen by armed men guarding the ceremony. Then gunfire happens. The target runs away right away, while Mike and Tommy are forced to run away when armed men start chasing them. Who would become a terrorist just to protect a wedding couple in the middle of nowhere? While running, they break their GPS and hide behind a rock formation. When the armed men start walking toward the rock, Mike quickly comes up with a clever way to distract them and send them in the other direction. After getting away from the armed men, the two ask to be rescued, but they are told they need to cross the desert in front of them to get to a village 5 hours away, where they will be picked up. They set out on foot, walking through sandstorms and scorching heat. Tommy tells Mike funny or maybe annoying stories about his son back home. Tommy makes Mike talk when he notices that Mike is quiet and seems to be upset. Mike says that he is having trouble proposing to his girlfriend Jenny. Tommy makes fun of him for being so scared, but he also tells him that marriages can be hard at first, but you get used to them over time. As they walk through the desert, the wind blows a warning sign right up to where they are standing. Mike takes the sign seriously because he knows that in the last 40 years, 33 million landmines have been buried in the desert. Tommy tells him it's just a trick the Berbers use to scare away enemies. Mike is still going slowly because he is thinking about the warning sign. Tommy walks backwards a few yards in front of Mike, making jokes about how Mike is always thinking too much. Suddenly, there is a click sound, and then there is an explosion. Tommy's foot had hit a landmine. Mike takes a step toward Tommy as his hearing goes out for a moment. He hears another click where his foot just landed. He just stops moving. Sand from the blast is starting to settle down. Tommy lived through the explosion, but his legs were cut off below the knees. Tommy screams and shakes because he hurts. Mike can't move, so it's hard for him to calm down Tommy. When nothing else works, Mike brings up Tommy's son. This gives him a little push, and he is able to use the morphine that Marines carry in their front pockets to give himself a shot. The pain takes over again as Tommy tries to reach his radio. Mike offers to take his foot off the landmine to help Tommy when he sees that his partner is in pain. Mike thinks that the landmine he stepped on might be old and no longer dangerous. Tommy tells him not to, and Mike pulls out his gun and points it at his head to stop him. He tells Mike that no matter what, he must stay alive, and then he shoots himself. Mike can't help but scream in pain. He is all by himself in the desert and can't move. Soon, he gets tired of standing and kneels down. Mike figures out that he needs to get the radio next to Tommy, which is a few yards away. He ties his shoelace to an axe and pulls the radio bag toward himself, but he learns that the radio's battery is dead and the spare is on Tommy's body. Mike is upset, but he comes up with another plan. He makes a makeshift way to charge the radio with solar power. Mike is then able to contact his bosses. He asks to be rescued right away, but he is told that rescue helicopters can't fly to his location because of frequent sandstorms. If everything goes well, a convoy will come save him in about 52 hours. Mike is frustrated by the answer. The major then tells Mike to try digging a ditch and jumping in it, which would only result in an life-threatening limb loss. Mike decides to tough it out and wait for rescue. He sets a countdown on his watch. Then, another huge sandstorm hits full force. He manages to wait it out without moving. Once it's over, the first thing he notices is that the storm has brought Tommy's body and, with it, the spare battery, right next to him, but the radio has drifted too far away for him to reach. Hours pass. Mike runs out of water. He gets more and more desperate, and sometimes thinks about shooting himself. He then sees a Berber coming toward him, walking in a zigzag pattern. Mike tries to warn him about the landmine, but the Berber acts just like Mike, making fun of him. Mike tries to explain his situation to the Berber man, but he insists that Mike must take the next step. He then takes Mike's water bottle and runs away into the desert. Mike is completely dehydrated and desperate, so he drinks his own piss until he sees a little Berber girl coming toward him with his water flask. She hands it to Mike, and to his relief, it's full of water. Mike slakes his thirst. Even though the girl never speaks, her toy soldiers seem to tell Mike that he has to get off the mine and move on. Mike tells her that he can't move and asks the girl to get him his radio, but the girl doesn't understand. Desperate, Mike gets too loud and scares the girl away. Soon, night will fall, and the temperature will start to drop. Mike starts a fire to keep himself warm. He starts hearing sounds of wild animals. He takes out his phone and looks at pictures of his girlfriend to keep himself busy. He finds a video of his girlfriend. In the video, Jenny tells Mike that she's waiting for him. Mike must win the war and get back to her as soon as possible. Mike begins to get emotional. He is worried that he may never see his girlfriend again. He's so tired of everything happening to him that he starts to fall asleep, but when he wakes up, he finds that the fire has gone out. He finds himself surrounded by animals. He tries to scare them off with his gun but fails. Guess he should have watched A Little Man vs. Wild. The animals carry Tommy's body away. One animal starts to move toward him, but Mike shoots it with his gun while using his flashlight as a light source. The animal steps on a landmine, causing it to explode and scaring the other animals away. The morning comes, and the same Berber man stops by again. He tells Mike that he is very lucky to have made it this far after stepping on a landmine and spending the night in the desert with wild animals. He asks Mike again to step forward, but Mike doesn't do it. Mike tells him that he probably knows where the mines are since he always walks in the same pattern. The Berber replies that he doesn't know where the landmines are and that he only walks in a zigzag pattern because it's safer than walking straight. Mike again asks him to get his radio. The Berber man finally agrees, brings the radio back to Mike, and then goes on his way. Mike looks at his watch and sees that it will take another 24 hours for help to arrive. He slowly starts having hallucinations. Mike sees Tommy wake up from death. Mike's made-up version of Tommy keeps him going and tells him that he will get out of this alive. Again, the sun goes down, and Mike starts to think about all the mistakes he's made in his life. He begins to feel bad about leaving his girlfriend Jenny alone and going to the mission. Again, he's surrounded by animals. This time, mine explosions don't stop them. Mike starts shooting at them without knowing what he is doing, but the animals still attack him. As he fights the wild animals, his mind wanders. As soon as the sun rises, Mike goes back to reality. All the wild animals that had attacked him were dead around him. Even though he was outnumbered, he managed to kill all the animals. Mike has been standing in that desert by himself with his foot on the mine for the last 45 hours without moving. Then, his boss sends him a message saying that the rescue team is running late. The senior asks if he can hold on for 17 hours. Mike says that he has reached his limit and can't go any further. The major tells him that he has someone who wants to talk to him. Then Mike hears the voice of Jenny. Mike starts frantically apologizing to her for leaving her, for messing everything up, and for breaking everything he touches. He then starts having hallucinations and sees Jenny sitting on a couch in front of him in the desert. He tries to get to her but starts to lose strength. He is about to fall over when Berber catches him coming out of nowhere. The man starts to care for Mike's wounds and tells him about the time he too stepped on a mine and lost a leg. He tells Mike that losing his leg felt like he'd lost everything in his life. But the pain of losing his leg washed away when he met his wife and had a daughter. He says that no matter what happens in our lives, we must keep moving forward. Mike tells the man that he is lucky because his daughter, who brought him water, is very pretty and has her father's smile. The man tells Mike that he no longer has a daughter because she died in a mine explosion during one of their trips together to dig out mines and replace them with tin cans. Mike listens, dumbfounded. The Berber tells him that he's glad his daughter came to meet Mike, but that he really needs to move on now. He then leaves. Mike sees his daughter again, but she quickly goes away with the wind. Mike starts to have hallucinations again. He sees his abusive father, who used to hit his mother while he watched helplessly. He sees his dying mother. He also sees the good times he had with his girlfriend. At that moment, he hears on the radio that the rescue team is close by and they need him to tell them exactly where he is. Before he can use the flare, the terrorists from before start shooting at him from over the hill. The shooting causes a nearby mine to go off. which sends the flare flying out of Mike's hand and out of reach. He tries to fire back, but he's too weak. But he remembers his girlfriend and uses that as motivation. Mike then uses his gun to shoot at the ground and set off mine explosions around him. This makes sand smoke that hides him from the enemy. He then quickly grabs his sniper rifle and kills the terrorists. With the rescue team going by, the flare is still out of reach. Mike remembers the Berber man saying, "You have to keep moving on." He takes a leap of faith and moves forward. Nothing happens. There is no explosion. He finds out that the mine he stepped on was actually a tin can, probably put there by the Berber's daughter when she was alive. The villager's words come true. All this time, the villager told him that he could move on with his life and go back to his girlfriend. He reminded him that he can do it, and that the only thing stopping him was fear. Mike is glad to be alive, even though he was shot in the non-fatal places during the standoff. He starts crying very hard. Maybe he was relieved to know that he would be saved, or maybe he was angry that he hadn't seen how right the situation was. Whatever the reason, one thing was certain. This event would change his life completely, and he had learned a valuable lesson. He then shoots the flare and falls to the ground. The rescue team finds him, and he goes home. Back at home, Jenny is waiting for him at the airport with happy tears in her eyes. Even before he hugs her, he gets down on one knee, as he has done at different times in his life. That's all for now. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more and hit the like button to help me out, and also leave a comment if you want me to explain your favorite film. Until next time, take care.